today we are here for a conversation with the Chief Washington from Vista Fire Department. We are so excited to have you here, especially as the fire chief. If you could go ahead and actually introduce yourself and include your name, your rank, your fire department, and how long you've been a firefighter.
Sure. My name is Gerard Washington, fire chief for the city of Vista, Vista Fire Rescue, and I've been in the fire service almost 35 years. This coming March will be 35 years.
Wow, fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank
Something to be proud of.
Yep. Love it.
Yeah. Chief, we've had the benefit of learning a little bit more about you. As we've prepared for this conversation, could you share a little bit more about your professional and personal journey?
Sure.
And what got you to this place today?
Sure. I was a small child that loved firefighters. I would visit the local fire station. And when I would go, I tell the story often that none of the firefighters looked like me. But they were very welcoming, gave me sage advice in that, stay out of trouble and get good grades, you can be a firefighter. They would allow me to come into the fire station and just guided me as I grew up in that neighborhood, that they saw that I was serious about it. And so they directed me to the local library on how to take civil service exams. And so that helped out a lot. Also, there was a Black Firefighters Association that put together mock exams, be it the physical or the written, and I took advantage of that as well. And after graduating from high school, I was very fortunate enough to rank high enough to be included in the class not long after high school. So I got in early and found my niche. I found something that I am very passionate about and absolutely love it. And that passion carried over throughout my career, looking to learn the job of my boss, which would make me a better employee. And you start to find yourself in positions like, well, heck, I think I can do this, and you start taking promotional exams, and I've been very successful with that process. But I've also had a village behind me, encouraging me and helping me out with the landmines.
I'm gonna go back to that very first test that you took. This is one of my favorite stories that you shared with us. And so walk us through, you're in the gym and just what happens from there.
Sure. Great memory. It was time to take the written exam. And so it was at a local high school. And so it was over several days. I didn't know this, but the day I go in, I get into the gymnasium and it is hundreds of people in this room, and we're all gonna take it. And I started looking around, I see baseball caps from New York, I see Chicago Fire Department t-shirts, all these things that told me, oh boy, this isn't gonna work out well for me. I felt like an imposter, and I didn't belong in this group. And I've only shared it a couple of times. You're one of the individuals that I shared it with. I was literally getting out of my seat, and the proctor walks in and closes the door behind her, says, okay, we'll begin here shortly. And I sat back down, and that's the only reason. If that proctor had been 30 seconds later, I can tell you for a fact I wouldn't be here, because I was so intimidated by these people that were wearing fire department gear, and I had no relationship to the fire service. And it was quite intimidating.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that imposter syndrome, I'm sure you're feeling, is a big piece for a lot of folks, especially, as fill-ins, as people coming into this world of fire service. There's so much we don't know. There's so much to learn. So being a younger person going into that, sitting in a room like that, it's a lot. And, a lot of our folks relate to that. Sure. There's a lot of people that are trying to experience this for the first time for themselves. And so, as you can see, made it 35 years in the field. Stay in the seat. See if you can make the test. Stay in the seat. I think it's a good piece.
That's it.
Cool beans. And so also I'm so excited to unpack this 35-year career, because you've accomplished so much. Made it up to the point that you actually retired.
Yes.
So maybe walk us through a little bit of that and how you decided to relocate and get back into it.
Sure. As I promoted up, I can tell you the first promotion I took was lieutenant. And my mentor, a gentleman I called Dad, had helped me. He started getting me ready, and this is how long ago it was. He recorded me on his camcorder, VHS, and it was at his kitchen table, and he just asked me simple questions. And then when he let me see it, I was embarrassed. The inability to answer the question, I didn't answer it. I was slouched over, all the things you're not supposed to do in an interview. And over time, he kept working with me, and I got a little better. And my goal was to make him proud. And I remember distinctly when the list was gonna come out. And I felt very good about the ops part of it, the firefighting part of it, even the administrative, personnel problems, this, that, and the other. The written was the thing that concerned me. And I put a lot of time into it because I knew if anything, that would be my weak spot, so to speak. And with it, I said, if I get a 90, I know I'm gonna get 95 or higher in all the other components of this. And he calls me and he says, hey, I say, hey, what's going on? He said, the list is out. I said, okay. And he says, you're number 21. My heart sank because I put a year and a half into this. I wasn't one of those individuals who say, oh, I'm not gonna study. No, I wanted this and I wanted to do really well. And I said, Dad, I'm sorry I let you down. He says, oh, you didn't let me down. He says, you're gonna be fine. And I said, I'll make you this promise. I get a job off this list. They're gonna see who's the real number one, and this will never happen again. And that's honest God's truth. Because I recognize I didn't know the process. I didn't know how to take an assessment, the components of it, really, right? And I got promoted. And I tell you what, that was the last time I was that low. It was either number one or number two after that, because I understood the process and what it took to get it done. And as I moved up, it was one of those where I wanted to empower other people on taking, even if it's an entrance exam for the department or a promotional exam. I said, the first thing they do, they give you the answers to the test. And everyone's like, well, what do you mean by that? I said, the job announcement. Yeah. The ideal candidate will blah, 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 blah. So when you're answering questions, you better use those adjectives or the information they've already given you, the answers to the test. But you have to put the time in. And that's the thing I stress all the time. You're not gonna shortcut this. It shows, because I've been on the other side. And as I promoted up and got to assistant chief, and that was because Milwaukee went outside for the first time in its history and hired a chief from outside, which as a young captain, I thought we needed that desperately, a fresh set of eyes. And I was fortunate enough that he had heard about me and wanted me to assist him to rebuild the department. And as I use the phrase, he gave me the keys to the car. As I was the assistant chief, I had 9 deputy chiefs report to me, and that's insane. So it was creating 2 other assistant chiefs positions, and now, giving everyone, a couple of deputy chiefs to oversee, who had battalion chiefs, who had captains, who had lieutenants, who had drivers, who had firefighter paramedics, and just making sense of the nonsense. And that had happened for so long because that's the way we always did it. And I did it for 9 years with them, and that was the longest. I was the deputy chief of administration, so the vice principal of the department. It's the running joke was, what color is Chief Washington's carpet in his office? And people are like, well, what do you mean? They said, well, if you know what it is, it's because your head was down when you're getting your butt chewed, And so it was amazing. I learned so much, and I didn't realize what he, as the fire chief, was doing for me, directly and indirectly, preparing me for whatever was going to come next. It got to the point where I knew Milwaukee was not the fit for me anymore. Born and raised, love it. It just wasn't going to work out. And as such, I retired when I was able to, at 49, and went into consulting. There was a company I was working for, placing fire chiefs in the Midwest. And it helped me, again, being on the other side of the table, watching these candidates. And so when it came time to interview for fire chiefs, I felt very comfortable and confident in it. And left Milwaukee, COVID hits. I was interim chief for a suburb of Milwaukee, got that job full time for 3 years. And then I got a phone call from a recruiter relative to Vista and the opportunities, and took full advantage of it. And I share the fact that reading about Vista, San Diego, the state of California, and the opportunities, and I knew there was no one that was gonna out-prepare for that interview for fire chief there. I knew in my heart. I explained to my wife, as she gave me permission to apply, that they don't see me coming and I'm gonna get this job. And she was floored because I don't talk that way, but I knew what they had in place there. There was no one that was gonna outperform me.
Fantastic. Well, you shared a little bit, so your wife, your mentor, who you call dad, the people that have been around you to support, so like family and community, seem to play a major role in your life. What are some of the major contributions that they've said? Who are the people in your village that have helped you get to this space?
Oh, sure, that's a great question. And you've mentioned a couple, but as I went back to school to finish my degrees, public administration, a Bachelor of Science in that with a minor in psychology, it was those instructors and professors that instilled in me. One in particular, I'll never forget what he told me. He says, I don't really know you. I know you work for the fire department. He says, but I can see you being a fire chief somewhere. And he says, here's my advice. Have a board of directors. And he said, and make sure they're not in the fire service. And he explained it to me what that meant. And it's a group of people that you don't have that group think. You're a think tank. And these are people that are going to tell you, hey, Gerard, you have a booger hanging out your nose, please remove it. Yeah, absolutely. They're not going to sugarcoat it. Hey, you're the best thing since sliced bread. It was these open conversations and crucial conversations and connecting me with people that in the business world. So when I went for my master's in business and management, it was recognized like, wow, you know what? The fire service is like a business. When you say that, it becomes unsexy. Oh, no, we're not. At this level, you better be operating as a CEO in order to be successful. And so it was the private sector, it was the public sector, it was the community leaders, superintendents of schools, pastors at churches, Boys and Girls Club, all these people that I had to meet and make my board and explain to them, we're here for you, I'm here for you, and I need your help. And it's, how do I get better? How do we serve your communities better? And just having those open lines of communication. So I've been very fortunate throughout my 35 years almost that I challenge people. Everyone wants to run to the individual that's number one on their list, number two on their list. A few mentors showed me, no, go to that person that was number 57 or 58, dead last. What was the separators? And use that as well, right? We learn from the good, you better learn from the bad. And so I've been very fortunate that way to have people in my corner that believe in me and saw things in me that I didn't see myself at the time.
Early on in your career, I believe you're just a few months on the job as a probationary firefighter.
Yes.
Walk us through some of those challenges and maybe that particular conversation you had to have.
I was on probation a few months on the job, and there I had one of the best captains when I first came out of the academy. I was sent to that station. Later on, I found out by my instructors because my captain was going to be acting battalion chief. He was going to be promoted soon. They felt I could handle whoever came in there. It was a relief lieutenant, someone that was just there for the day. I was able to work on my own and get things done, and so it was a compliment. Okay, cool. So then that captain got promoted. A new captain came in, and my previous captain warned me. He said, hey, he's a little different than me. And I'm thinking, okay, no big deal. I'm a young, sure, I can handle this. And he was the complete opposite. I'll use the word gentleman for my first captain and not a gentleman for my second. And it was a reality check for me. Just his language, his attitude. Again, this is the early 90s. He's dropping the N-word in the station on the rigs that we're riding back from. And, as a probationer, you're told to shut up and keep your head down. And this is the community in which I grew up in that he's talking about. And I just had finally had enough. I use the phrase, I would look myself in the mirror. Literally, I would. And I thought bad thoughts about hurting him because that's how frustrated I was and angry. I would make trades not to work with him. So I would look in our day book to see when he was working, make trades to be off. And it was awful. I hated what I grew up wanting to be. And it wasn't because of the job. It was because of a person. And this is a person that's supposed to be a leader, mentoring me, getting me ready for the next level. And he was actually the person that I dreaded and didn't care for. And I finally had enough and asked him to his office. And of course, the senior firefighters, the probationer's asking the captain to the office. They were no help, and we got in the office. And, when you grew up in certain environments, you are prepared for language that's going to be used, the adjectives that are going to be thrown your way. And I knew right away he was going to say I had a chip on my shoulder. I have an attitude. And he said all that. He didn't disappoint me. So I was prepared for all of that. And I just told him, no, sir. I said, the language you're using to the community in which I live in and grew up in, we're done. I can't do that. If it's not work related, please don't talk to me. And he was besides himself in that, no, I'll order you to talk to me. I said, you can't if it's not job related. I have nothing to say to you. And there was voices raised and back and forth. And, we ended our conversation. He knew where I stood. And sometime later, and he stopped using the word. And sometime later, as I got more time on the job, he came to me and said, hey, if you don't make at least battalion chief, you did something wrong. I did this to push you and to challenge you. And I just had no respect for him because that's not the way you do it. And to be alone in that situation, that your senior firefighters who are supposed to be there to protect you and help you out, there was no one. And it was crushing, but I wouldn't change any of that because it definitely made me who I am. And I recognize that when I see it in other people, what they're going through, and to be that advocate internally and externally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's super important. And as we've seen in the fire service, you know, there's still a lot of work to do. There's a lot of opportunity and space for other Black firefighters, for women, non-binary folks to be a part of this space. And it takes a lot of strength as a probationary firefighter to come and talk to someone, to have that kind of conversation. But it's really connected to what we've learned about you, how you are as a person. And that there's also space for other people to be like, hey, you know, that's not right.
Yes.
And we gotta figure this out. We might not like each other, but we still gotta work together. We're here for a purpose. And so figuring how all of that works, I think it's super important. And it's a good message for folks that are listening and watching of, if you feel something truly and passionately, and you're like, there could be an opportunity to create a better culture, to build a stronger legacy, which is what I've learned a lot from you. Sometimes you gotta step out and do that. Sometimes you have to move forward and sit in that discomfort and allow it to happen. And then, you know, I'm sure that changed him, changed the process, changed a lot of people. And it's something that is uncomfortable, but we learn from it, and we grow from it, and we move forward on it.
Yeah, he was interesting. I mean, I just think back to, you know, I mentioned earlier about learning your supervisor's job. And I was eager to learn how to take our time cards and reports. And so when he would go out and act battalion chief, he would put the senior firefighter in charge as the acting lieutenant. And that firefighter was like, I don't want to do this crap. Hey, Wash, you want it? I said, oh, absolutely. And so I would take care of everything. So the captain would come back and congratulate, hey, thanks a lot, so-and-so. And, you know, he looks and no, that was Wash. Stay out of my office. You know, so it was like, oh, really? And again, it just motivated me. It just showed me like, not like, oh, wow, good for you. You're so young and you're doing this. It just motivated me. I knew I was doing it right, and just to kind of have the wherewithal. And, you know, I got to be completely honest. It was very difficult. There was a lot of second guessing, and it was a lot of, you know, sleepless nights. And I just kept going back to, no, this is what I want. I can't let this person take this away from me.
You have this incredible mentor who has come up throughout all of our conversations. Beautiful relationship. Can you walk us through how that started, how you met him, and how that got off the ground?
I get a little emotional with that one. My mom was 15 when she had me, and my father was killed when I was 2. By a Milwaukee police officer. He was committing a crime. And so never having a true father figure. I had uncles and things like that, neighborhood parents that looked out for me and our family. When I joined the fire department, I heard about this man, and I heard it from every demographic within the department. And I just remember thinking, wow, who is this person? And to find out that he was a Black man, and to hear so many people talk so positively about it, I had to meet him. I had to meet this person. And what I was going to do was going to force him to be my mentor. And that's what I did. I pulled up to a station one day. He didn't really know me. He knew of me. And I walked up to him in front of the other guy and said, you're going to be my mentor. And he kind of chuckled, and I said, no, really? And literally it was making where the connections I had made with deputy chiefs that could move me around and get me where I wanted to, they got me to that fire station. And it was where I worked with them and for them. Well, then we start getting even closer outside the department. So much so we vacationed together and things like that. And like I said, he prepared me for exams, and just an amazing man. And not having a dad, we got so close I started calling him dad, and he called me son. And his wife said, she says, if I didn't know any better, I thought you guys were blood related. You are so similar, and just well respected in the community, internally and externally. And he was my best man at my wedding. He's the godfather of my son. And just to this day, I call him dad, and we talk often. And you know, he just called me out of the blue a couple of days ago and just said how proud he was. And that just it just meant so much to me. And he was a retired fire captain who had the opportunity to promote up, but he chose not to. And people questioned that, but I respected him even more because it wasn't about titles. He always told me it's helping others, and this is where I'm needed most. And it resonated with me. And forgive me for getting choked up about it, but it's one of those that he's an amazing man. And like I said, I love him to death.
And also, shout out to your mom for at 15 doing the best that she could. And, you've mentioned along the way just being front row at all of your promotions and just look at the son that she raised. Incredible. And shout out to him for really sticking by your side and being such an incredible mentor. Personally, I was adopted as a child. And so I think the gift of being given parents that aren't related to you is the highest gift.
Yes,
so
absolutely. Like I said, and my mom, again, being a visionary, like I said, a teenager having a kid and just wanting the best for me and hold me to a higher standard, and has no doubt made an unbelievable impression on my life forever. And it was holding me accountable. The word that, some people are shy, and my mom wasn't shy of that word. It was by whatever, any means necessary to keep me in line. So love her for that.
It worked. Look where you're at.
Yeah, so for sure.
We appreciate mom.
For sure.
That's a big thing.
One of the quotes Mom said that you brought up in one of the preliminary conversations was, "You're not a second-class citizen."
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And it was because of the environments I was in, and as a young kid I was the first black person to go to my grade school, and my mom sent me there intentionally, and we had to take the city bus. As a young kid, you don't know. You think you're being punished. And later on, I asked her about that. And she, cleaned it up for me and said, no, you're not always going to work or be in environments that everyone looks like you. So you need to learn how to navigate the world. And again, I kudos to her for that. But she did. You're not a second class. Whatever you do, Gerard, be the best at it. You don't have much. Be it clothing, things like that, but keep it clean. I always remember that. And so you would have thought she was in the military. I mean, pants ironed, shoes shine, the whole nine. And so it's stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, and
shout out to her.
Shout out,
for sure, for sure.
And I think we've seen that in our conversations, the impact that she had and how you approach spaces. And to me, in the short time we've had conversations, you exemplify this idea of to whom much is given, much is required. And that you have shared both in your experience, but that you're often drawn to what folks would call misfits. The people, the 57, 58 on the list of folks that are often written off for a variety of reasons. Why do you see mentorship or sponsorship or connection with folks like that to be so critical?
Sure. You find not only in fire service, but just across the planet, it's easy to write off that person. You believe that's not worth it versus trying to learn their story. And when you find out, in most cases, they've gone through some of the same things, if not worse. They just never had someone to believe in them or give them an opportunity. And that, I can tell you, it's just so important for me because the talents that go untapped because of that, you put baby in the corner type thing, that when you bring them out and start asking and empowering them, it's amazing where it takes them, it takes you, and it takes your organization. And so it's just, I've always been that person that's an advocate and root for the underdog when it comes to those situations, because I've been there. I've had it where, people will write you off and, and not truly give you the benefit of the doubt. And that's my thing. Assume positive intent, right? It's easy to, what's their story? Oh, they're just lazy. They're just standing there. They're last minute, and you find out the reason they're last minute is because they take care of a sick family member. And they're always running to get to work on time. And if you don't avail yourself to learn their story, you fall into that group think. Yeah, they are lazy. Yeah. And it's the furthest from the truth. And so that's why I'm a staunch advocate and supporter of the underdog. It's given them the opportunity. And there's been very few cases in my almost 35 years that I've been burned on that one. Very few. It's they as well as their families appreciate it. I've had that told to me that, wow, you're the only one that's given them this opportunity. And that's important.
Yeah, I think it's critical. That to what you said, that you don't know what people's stories are. You know what they share, But how they show up in the space, you don't know what happened before they came in the room, before they got on a call. You don't know all of those things. And you just have to ask. You have to make some connection, find way for folks to feel like, all right, cool, this is a space for me.
Yeah.